And good whatever, wherever you are in the world today. If you're tuning in, thanks very much. And I'm here with my good friend Jason, where we talk about the soft and systems side to sales. And through the course of all our conversations, we've been looking at many different elements of the sales process and area and department as a whole, and all the different things that need to be aligned from a systems perspective, process, and then also the soft points as well. Today, we're talking about probably one of the most important skills required for any salesperson in the sales team, including the sales business leader, and that is negotiation. So, Jason, if we were to start talking about sales negotiation, where would you start? What would be the number one thing you would think of to ensure that salespeople are doing the right thing? So, if you had a guy starting with you and you were talking about
Hmm.
negotiation skills, what's the first thing you would talk about?
I would suggest to plan for every obstacle that you might come up with. Have a look at every single facet of what challenges there might be ahead, but plan for all the every element. So if you're in a negotiation stage, you should have a tick box of understanding where you need to go. Like you've done the initial cold call, you've done the meeting, you've taken notes about everything else you presented, you've taken everything. Now it's down to the negotiation part, whether it's the contract that you're negotiating, whether it is other elements. But you have to be aware of what the other person is like, because they might be bringing someone else into the mix. So it could be the legal department, it could be the accounts team, it could be a senior director of the business, and they might throw a spanner in the works. So you have to have the BATNA approach, which is the best alternative close behind this. So you really have to understand the whole strategy of it, because things do happen, and we've all been there where you're just there at the sign in and automatically, what about this? What about that? So you have to have a best alternative arrangement so you can actually deal with this negotiation, because it is a high stressful part of the sales process, because you can actually win it or you can actually lose it. So you've just got to make sure that you stand your ground and make sure that you have the right strategy in place, because at the end of it is all part and parcel of, do we want the business? Do we need the business that much? If they put a spanner in
Mm,
the works that they say and they want this and then they say they want that, and maybe they want that for free, and
yeah,
you just can't give it for free because you're a business, and you've given the value all the way through the conversation. Then it comes up with that, and I think you just have to be aware with the I think there's a Stephen Covey matrix of the win lose lose
yeah,
lose
yeah, yeah,
lose
yeah.
lose, and I think that's a really good thing to keep in and understand how that works, so you can actually go to market in the correct way.
Yeah, no, I think what you said there, Jason, is, and I was going to lead on with something there, but the way you just described it there, using that Stephen Covey matrix, that win, 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 lose, lose, win, and so forth, I think that's a great bit of prep work you can do to
Mm,
ensure that when you know what your non negotiables are, you know what you can negotiate with, but what are your boundaries on certain elements of the service or like the overall service and parts of other things they may be looking for, because you need to be able to walk into that meeting to know what you can negotiate, because the goal is always win-win,
yep.
Jason. And I always talk about winning clients in the same mindset to your point just there, because I hate when you go into a contract, you've agreed something and then the customer changes the goalposts. And
Yeah.
they do that all the time. So I think it's very important to set the tone and manage expectations from day one. But the key thing there, when it's not going your direction, when they're starting to change those goalposts in the negotiation, you have to be prepared to walk away. You
Yeah.
have to be able to say, in a nice way, thanks, but no thanks, because we both have to win. Yes, I want you to win, but it has to be good for my business too.
Yeah.
And that has to be, and I see it so many times, Jason, when you have salespeople promising the sun, moon, and the stars, and then when you bring that back into operations, operations can't do it
Yeah.
because they've oversold. And that's that's not that the salespeople did that intentionally, but they probably didn't know enough about the operation process to do that. So there's so many elements. I think preparation is key when it comes to the negotiation element, because it's so important to get right. And it's not about you controlling, Jason, as you said, that win-win level that you want to get to.
I was going to say there, so many times that you could go through the process, but again, you could have made a mistake is you're not actually speaking to the person that actually signs the check, and they need to be into the negotiations, maybe in an earlier stage, because you're signing the contracts, you're negotiating now, but are you negotiating with the right person? Or is it one of the levels above or to the sides? They could be a key influencer. They could be the ones that actually want it and they need the services. They're the ones that actually do it. But really the key person that actually goes, oh, I agree, that the managing director or whoever it might be that actually says, yes, we're definitely going to do that. Or no, we're not going to do that only because we haven't got this, that, and the other within the contract or whatever it is. And I remember a time many years back when I worked for a global organization, negotiation and people negotiating with me had to go through the legal department. Every single thing had to go through the legal department. And I was doing global campaigns and with insertion orders, and I had to go back with the legal team and redo all the terms and conditions. And if they weren't prepared to accept it, then we just didn't have a deal. And I'd be there going, well, I want the deal, but the legal team is putting a spanner in the works because they want their terms and conditions actually within the contract. And that happens all the time. So this is the unwritten stuff in there. So I think the key thing is to stay calm, stay relaxed, stay focused on the goal, and just be aware of their body language, their stress patterns, because that makes a massive impact on you. I think you have to stand your ground in some respects. You can't be one of these needy people and they're giving you everything and you go, yeah, I'll do that because I want the deal. And we all want the deal at the end of it, but it's got to be right. It's got to be right for the business.
Yeah. And this falls back into having your values, Jason, that you need to have your non-negotiables, your values, and this is what you and your business stand for. So then that should help you, as you said, not being that needy person. But again, everybody's eager to get that sale over the line because that's how businesses work, right? So like going back another step, like I think obviously I believe preparation is key, Jason. And as I said, be prepared to walk away. These terms and conditions have put many spanner in the work for me. And I've walked away from a project because I said I'm through your request for proposal, and then the RAT, which is risk with some big corporation do, especially now with GDPR. I've actually walked away from a project because it was going to take me, when I estimated the time I had to be put in to this, it was going to take me 3 weeks solid work. And I asked him, are you going to pay me for this work? No, so I'm not doing it. So if you really need to do those terms and conditions, interested.
Yeah. And that's the stress part, and that's the anxiety part, because you can come Mr. Needy again and go, yeah, I'll do that. But then you panic because the pressures of a salesperson, the challenge is you've got to hit your targets. You've got to have this, you've got to hit revenue. You've got to do this, that, and the other. And this is where a lot of things fall down because you're just going, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Or you go out of the meeting room and you speak to your boss. Can I actually do this? Am I allowed to do this? But maybe you should have checked that in the first place and have the negotiables and the non-negotiables in there. If it's a negotiable part that you can actually do it and it doesn't take much time and effort to do that, but make sure that you plan for that just in case, that you can maybe give something away that could be included within the contract, which doesn't cause a lot of stress over it. But like yourself, if it's going to take hours and hours of work, then what's the point in doing it? It's no point in doing it because you're wasting your time, money, and effort. Just focus in on someone else. They might even just come back. And if you stand your ground, and this happened to me before, really stood your ground and said, no, I can't do that. If you want to do business with me now, we can do it. But this is what we have to do. So are you ready to go with it? If not, we'll just walk away. And if you do decide to come back, once you thought about it, please come back to me. But this is how it is.
Yeah.
Another thing I was thinking about is always talk about money earlier on in the negotiation process, because once you get into the moment of money at the end of it rather than at the beginning of it, then you probably are on one of those uphill battles where if you lay it out first off, then you know where it starts, rather than negotiating down, then it's not worth your while doing.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And if you remember, Jason, if you think, like I always say, leave price till the end, but we are at the end here, right? This is the end, because we've talked about in previous episodes where you're in the middle of proposing something and people will ask you, what's your rate, what's your price? And all you can say is, well, I don't know, I haven't scoped a piece of work yet, so I can't do that. But we're at this stage now, so it's really important to actually, to your point, Jason, to make things as clear as day, right? And then over the course of that negotiation, talk about what comes with that. And this is again, go back to the planning, that you have your like negotiables, non-negotiables. Maybe you can add on an extra bit here or there, but if you're not willing to, if you have a boundary on price, which you always should have, then you can say, well, I cannot take away any more value in terms of monetary terms, but I can add a few other like extra elements to the service delivery if that's what you want, but I'm not negotiating anymore, because you have to remember, Jason, some people will negotiate only on price. And if you know that, Jason, you can prep for that stuff all day. They go, what, like I have another contract here with another supplier that it's 30% cheaper. And then I'll go to them, well, why are you still talking to me?
Yeah, well, exactly. I think a lot of the time it's spoofing. When they've said, I've had it before, and they go, well, the other person's going to do it for half the price. I was going, well, go with the other person then.
Yeah, that's exactly
what you get with me, you get this, and this.
Yeah.
The reason why you're speaking to me, because I'm experienced, I know what I'm doing. I've done this many times before with a lot of your competition, your competitors. I know this and it works, or whatever you can say at that particular time. But, you know, if they're going to give ridiculous things on price, then maybe that's not your customer. Maybe you just go, okay, fair enough, go with them. That's fine.
But I've been in this situation, Jason, and I've learned not to go down, because when people are just focused, and this is where, again, you're still filtering the type of customer you want to do business with. If they're just price sensitive all the time, when you have to be mindful, these people are price sensitive, will batter you on many other ways within the contract as well. They'll always be tick boxing all the time. You want to focus with people that are interested in value and delivery and service, not just dotting the I's and crossing the T's all the time. And I've been in these situations, Jason, and I've often said, like, when someone has, and I know, Jason, if someone is offered 30% lower than what I'm offering, I know to a degree that their quality is going to not be the same. But I'll always say, look, I don't believe that person can do this at this price. But if they do, and you decide to take it, when something goes wrong, I don't say if, I say when something goes wrong, I'd be delighted to help you fix it. And people have come back to me, you know, and you have to be prepared, I said, to walk away. Because if it's too, you have to win, Jason. And you have to remember this. I know people say, well, you have to make sure you get your price, but then it's gone to the customer service side of things where you have to make sure the customer wins, but you have to win too. There has to be that win-win. To your point, Proctor, there has to be, or Covey, sorry, there has to be that win-win. And sometimes it's just a third person. If it's a referral, Jason, 3 people have to win. There's 3 win. It's a win-win-win.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's got to hit every single mark. And again, it's one of those things you just walk away, but leave it open for, as you said, is when it doesn't work, please come back to me. My door is open and we can discuss how we can make an impact, or how we can do this and how we can do that. But I'm happy for you to go with client B, C, whoever, because I'm confident that I stand my ground and you know you're going to get success with me. But please go and try the rest and then come back to me.
Yeah. And people have come back to me. One thing I want to draw back to what you said about calm. And I do agree, Jason, like there has to be calm, and you remain calm, but I also believe it's my part of my remit in this meeting is to keep the other person calm. And you
Yeah.
do that by making sure your tone of voice, your body language says that you're calm, and help them be calm as well, even
Yeah.
if it's not going. Because people will use emotions, Jason, to try and win a battle with you. Because some people see it as a battle. Some people like to win. But this is where you can have, going back to prep, you're like, if you, I got, this is probably a like not so honest way, but it is important in negotiation, Jason. Sometimes you have to play your cards close and maybe protect something that you know is important to them, but not so important to you. But then you negotiate that to show that you're a giver, and give something to them that you battle a little bit about to see that they've won. Some people just like to feel that they've won, Jason.
Yeah, of
If
course.
you're not, I'm okay with this, because if you're still going to deliver a fantastic service and you want to win-win, that is still, to me, it's not unethical. So there are a few little skills that you can use that may not be so nice on the outside, but if they get the right result for both parties, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's when you start lying to the customer, saying that you can do stuff that you can't, or over promising and under delivering. When you get into that realm, that's when it becomes.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It is how we show up, and it is your tone and your calming voice, and just keep it like that all the way through. So it's really calm and relaxing, very hypnotic in a way that but the part of the thing is they bring themselves down to that level of tone and tonality, and they feel calm themselves. If they still got that level, you just go that level until they will come down and feel calm eventually. But I think it is your internal language that you have to keep solid, and you have to keep going, well, I'm happy with this. I'm just going to keep myself on track, and I'm not going to get too emotional about this, because if you get the emotions in, it can get all heated, and we don't want that. We just want to make sure that we both win. And if there is something that we can add a little bit more value to, but it's not costing the world, then absolutely, let's do that. But win-win all the way through. The BATNA approach is very good in that.
Yeah, and going back to calm, Jason, because I do think it's a really important element in negotiations. Like, there's a few things I like to be very mindful of. The time of the negotiation meeting, that's really important, especially if you're talking about if it's the end of the day when people are tired, or if it's just before lunch and people are looking forward to food, right? And people could be hungry, right? So there's a few things that, and just again from experience, that I've learned that if people got a sugar low and you have no choice, I will always bring some croissants or something and share them at the start, have a very informal discussion just to get people back on track. But sometimes, Jason, when I know the type of person I'm dealing with, especially if I know they're a naturally agitated person, I often say, let's go for a walk meeting, you know, to ensure we're moving energy, we're releasing energy as we walk, which makes the tone and the voice element more calm. Because some people just like to move. You know, Jason, if you're on a sales call, I guarantee you will not be sitting on your chair. You will be walking around. People like to talk and negotiate when they're moving. And that's on both sides of the coin too, Jason.
No, it's the best. It is the best way. And I was going to suggest, actually, is if you're out in the field or whatever, and you're negotiating terms, sometimes get it off premises, off their premises, because then it's a better tactic than, because they are stronger at their own premises. There's a psychology in it, and you're there. But so if you can go for a walk around the block, let's go to a cafe and get a coffee to go, or let's go somewhere else and do it. If it's at that high point, high stakes, where you know there's something not 100% there, let's try and pivot it so it's on equal terms rather than on their terms. And then buy the coffee, buy the cake, buy the whatever. So there's some sort of reciprocity. That's, you know, if you give something, reciprocation is the word I was looking for.
Reciprocity or something.
Yeah, that's it. I can never say that
word. Tongue twister of a word. I know. I was going, well done for that word.
Yeah.
But Jason, and even at that, because if you think again, like me being a systems guy, I often map these out, Jason, and do the what if scenarios. And would you believe when I've mapped this out myself, very little end up with no deal. And
Yep.
this is just true experience. Well, just because the meeting didn't go according to plan, that doesn't mean it's the end of the negotiation.
No.
It could be around two, but it's important that you have to see that plan through, that you have to be prepared to walk away and do it in a nice way. Just say, look, this isn't working I'm happy to give you the best service I possibly can, but this is just compromising what we want to get out of it too much.
Yeah.
We're not going to win.
Last point before we leave, silence is golden.
Silence is golden, because what happens
Listen
when you be
and
silent
silence are the same letters all the way through. So use it and utilize it.
Because when you're silent, Jason, they tend to overtalk to break that silence. But again, final point for me is, if you have to be prepared to walk away, just know that it's not the end of the negotiation. There will more than likely be a round two. So on that note, look, I'd like to say thank you, Jason. Thanks for the people tuning in. And next week, we'll come back with another topic in the whole soft and system side, the sales. And that's a tongue twister in itself. Have a great evening.
Take care. See you later. Take care.
Bye-bye.